Recording in progress.
Can't hear him.
Good morning, unmute us. We're unmuted. It's 7:30.
Wait just a minute, Doug's supposed to be here. Where am I? Get everything ready to go then? We'll go ahead and start. It's 7:31. I'd like to call the Public Works Committee for Parks to order for Tuesday, August 11th, 2026. We have a motion to approve the agenda.
I so move.
Second. Motion by Brown, second by Fleming. There are no additions or corrections. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Agenda approved. Morning, Doug.
Holidays.
Approval of minutes. July 14th, 2026. Do I have a motion?
I move to approve.
Motion by Sutter,
I'll second.
second by Brown. Any additions or corrections? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
All right.
Opposed? And it's approved. Citizen participation, communications and announcements. Are there any citizens on Zoom that would like to speak?
Recording in progress.
And they've been very good to work with so far, but we've been doing quite a few meetings on that. And the last item I wanted to touch on is facilities management is working with us to put in a water line. Wanted to get this on the agenda packet for discussion. With everything going on, I lost track of it. There isn't a approval necessary from this committee. It goes to General Services Committee. Okay. I shared a couple pieces of information with you, so you can kind of see what the bids or quotes that came in at. Brent is taking that to General Services on the 18th, so a week from today. The reason we wanted to make sure the committee was aware of it is that it comes out of the Public Works funding pot. So it isn't under facilities, it's under our budget, okay? But I can, and I'm planning to bring it on the 25th to have further discussions and open that up for discussions if you guys would like. But that's my plan at this point. So we can kind of keep that project moving.
Anything else?
That's it.
John, do you have anything?
No, sir.
Okay. Parks Advisory Board Communications. We have any today?
Nope.
Right, none. Review, discussion, possible action. Discussion, possible action, Gibbs Lake house rental. John.
So I brought this to you guys last month. Obviously, we want to get this kind of set in stone before budget time, just so we can get all of our numbers and revenues and everything straight. The issue paper I submitted last week or last month, obviously pointed out my recommendation, the 2.75% increase for $1,000 a month. You guys had some questions in regards to leasing. Obviously, we've talked for years about the what ifs, right? The sewer and the windows and the siding and all the stuff that this rental house needs. And the consensus in the past has, we're not going to spend a lot of money on it. We're going to obviously look forward to getting rid of this house once, everything kind of works out. That being said, our renter is here today, Mr. Winke. Mr. Winke has rented from us for 44 years. I've had discussions with Dave and over the past few years. That being said, the questions that were raised last month, that's why Ms. Saunders is here, in regards to, can we do a month-by-month lease? And would it be beneficial to do a 6-month lease or stuff like that? Those questions, I'm going to rely on Ms. Shauna to answer here today. Long and the short, there's pluses and minuses, right? And I'll just let Shauna kind of, if you want to bullet point the month-to-month lease and the 6-month lease.
Sure. So the benefits to a month-to-month is the flexibility, not only just for us, but also for Mr. Winke. So sometimes you see that in people, they plan on moving, but they're not exactly sure when. So a month-to-month allows both sides to give 28 days notice to terminate that lease. In a 6-month lease or a year lease, which is what we're doing right now, we really don't have a right to terminate. Either side doesn't have a right to terminate unless there's some sort of breach of the lease terms. And the remedy for that would be to evict, right? Like we would have to move to evict. So the year lease, if we renewed that in January, would go for an entire year with no real way to terminate it early unless there was some sort of problem. And that goes for Mr. Winke as well. So you're kind of just bound by that, it being a year. So again, I think the difference is just the amount of flexibility for both sides. And if there's some question as to how long this is going to go, I do see a benefit in a month-to-month. So.
Yep. Okay.
The one question also that was brought up when we were discussing that month-to-month lease, there's protections to Dave as a renter, right? If we're during the lease, if something major happens like the septic or something, statutorily, we're required to fix that or at least make it habitable for that person living there. Right? So if we did a month-to-month and the septic failed, could we nurse it by for 2 months or whatever until that lease is fulfilled? Potentially. All depends on, but statutorily, we are required to provide the necessity items to be able to live in a structure, right? If the roof fails, we got to provide a roof. If the furnace fails in the middle of winter, we are statutorily required to make sure that there's heat in that house. There's some structural items that are required to make it happen.
That's true. So a landlord is required to essentially do 3 things. To make all necessary structural repairs. So again, if the roof failed, you wouldn't necessarily have to replace the entire roof, but you would certainly have to patch the areas that were like leaking, right? If there was water coming into the house. You have to ensure that everything in the house is up to code. And you also have to ensure that all of the equipment, the AC, like the HVAC stuff, things like that are in a reasonable state of repair, so the septic. And those are costs that are borne solely by the landlord. There are other non-necessary structural repairs, you know, if you wanted to make cosmetic changes. There are instances in which, and I'm making this up, Mr. Wilkie, but he's like, hey, I want new carpet. We're like, well, we don't think you need new carpet. He's like, I'm willing to go in half, right? Okay, fine. Things like that can happen, but you can't do that for the necessary structural repairs or for anything that is code related or equipment related.
Which I think answers the cost share question that also was brought up. You know, if the septic fails, would we be, you know, could we write it in the contract that they would have to cost share? Statutorily, no, we cannot do that. So. Mr. Chair.
Go ahead.
So, some constituents have brought this issue to my attention and asked me to ask a few questions here today. And one of them would be, has the property ever been appraised lately? Has the value been established of? If the house is gonna be past its usable life, then what is the site worth? Has that ever been done? Has that ever been established?
No, because legally we can't sell it. Because of how the property was acquired, legally we cannot sell it. It was acquired through like a federal funding program. I can't remember exactly what it was, but it was something in regards to like conservation type. This is how the property was acquired. With those guidelines, we are not legally allowed to sell it. So having an appraisal done, in my opinion, with no ability to sell.
That would be a waste of money. That's
Correct.
So last time we talked, there was a shed on the property that is sitting basically empty because.
Yep,
you guys
it's a
have
skew.
been told that it's not safe.
So,
So I would love to volunteer my time to take a look at that with you, John, and see if,
let me know.
you know, we can do some shoring or some. There's a lot you can do with a meaning structure.
Correct.
Sorry, he was just shaking his head, like,
The one barn that is standing, if I can talk, the foundations are cracked so bad, it's lean and that's just the storage for your conservation.
I was to say, we haven't stored anything either. There's a couple 55 gallon drums that we use to trash cans in there. That's about it. I guess-
Surveyor stuff is in there.
Old conservation crews stuff we haven't touched in
It's
decades.
a hog shed.
So,
So it's-
Okay, well, I know you were looking for a place to store sandbags, so they don't need a lot of special care. But,
Well, one time.
I wasn't necessarily looking. I think the guy to my right.
I was looking.
I'm storing enough of this stuff right now. There's 3 brine tanks I'm storing for him on a daily basis.
100,000 sandbags up in the rafters. Top of that hog shed, like 2008, got the flood. They came out, and took them all out. So, a lot of them were dry rotted and kind of.
I can't hear him.
Dave, could you come up to the table? That way, then speak a little clearer, and then
She can't hear what you were saying
Yeah.
about the hog shed.
so that we can hear you on the microphone.
Supervisor Fleming was
Oh, okay.
hearing you.
In that hog shed, there used to be sandbags upstairs, like 2008, we had that massive flood. And they came out there and took them all at that time, so it was used for storage.
It was for, yeah, and it's been a decade or better since we've had anything major out there, just. And the silo has been an issue. You know, the lightning strike and all the other stuff you guys
It
have,
has
there's
happened,
been
yeah.
attributed to
It's been
that,
three
so.
times.
Long and the short, what we've talked about in the past is obviously with Dave, you know, if and when he moves on. Cleaning the site, you know, it's been put together in not only the porous plan, but other things where, you know, if and when that happens, we basically tear down everything on that site. Whether we expand the parking lot for the park itself, we've talked about building an upper pavilion, you know, there's a plan for that site. That's been approved with the porous plan and other things that have gone on. It's just a matter of if and when. It's a timeline thing, so.
The bones itself of the home is very good. You know, of course, you're gonna have, you know, internal problems, you know, like the hot water heater, 35 years old.
Yep.
It should probably be replaced, but it's probably gonna blow and it's gonna get really do a mess to the basement.
And one of the
But
things
until that happens, I guess, right?
And one of the things too that we're looking at right now, Dave's having issues with the plumbing in the basement. I was hoping to have an answer for you guys today. It's actually in my other report, but I did talk to him again yesterday. And so he's having issues with the toilet, and now it's affecting the shower. Called Roto-Rooter, they were supposed to go on, you know, whatever. I asked him to televise it as well. The reason I asked him to televise it is because if we're having issues with the plumbing between the basement and the septic, we need to know about that, because that's a major expense. They didn't come out and do the work yet because they thought all I needed was them to televise it, and there was no major issue.
Oh,
So got that satisfied yesterday. So they're supposed to be there today, just so you're aware.
for the health department on the septic,
They're up to snuff on being inspected. So,
so you're saying it was pumped 3 years ago?
3 years ago.
So it will be pumped this year then?
whenever they send me the letter. That's what I go off
Well,
of.
see, I feel that could be some of the issues. I don't recall the way the trees have grown, like a big truck could even get under there 3 years ago.
So what they did is they've got a very long hose and they parked in your driveway and went out to it. Is what I was told.
Oh,
Oh, yeah, they can. So
well, yes, they can. I agree.
that's what I was told. So whether they actually did that or not, that's a whole nother
There
issue.
you go.
We got charged for it. That I can tell you. But the other thing that. With that septic, the last time we had it inspected, they said the baffles were starting to rot out. There was some obviously age going on here. The other thing that I am concerned about is I'm assuming it's probably ductile iron or cast iron pipe going from the house to the septic.
Plastic.
It is plastic?
When they redid that
Okay,
and they dropped the first load in, Linda was in the basement. She heard a crash like they dropped a
Okay.
rock or something. And it was all PVC from the house. Going from the cleanouts and cleanouts out to the holding.
it is
tank.
plastic.
And then from
Okay.
the holding tank out to the.
All right, that makes me feel a little bit better.
And,
Because if we have to
that-
rip up a basement to fix old iron pipe in a house, that's another major expense.
Yeah, and when Miss Williams, the other part, sure was here. Or manager, she had a camera guy from Clinton come in from the field, the drain field, and take it back into the septic tank, and they said there was like roots they had to auger out, so
Okay.
obviously.
Could be
that
issues
pipe
there as
must-
well.
Yeah,
So, which I'm hoping to find all of that, obviously not only with a Roto-Rooter, but also a visual inspection, so.
yeah, we've been looking for homes, it's hard to find some, you know. We've been looking 6-7 months, been trying to get out of there, so. We understand how you feel, but you know, we don't want to be forced out of it. You know, we love that place. Like I said, we've been there 44 years. We treat it like we own it. I was told from Mr. Coates, you know, you treat this like you own it. I was 21 years old. Treat this place like you own this place, and that's what we've done, you know.
Yep. And there, I'm not discriminating against that at all. You have. So. Any questions from the committee for me or for Dave or Shauna or?
No.
Any thoughts or motion on how to proceed?
Just a quick question, but how do you feel about switching it to month?
I don't like that idea. I'm afraid that doesn't, you know, we want you out, you know, you got 30 days. Like, well, what did we do? Well, it's just time for you to leave. We're having some issues with the septic. You know, at one time, all my rent money, the way it was set up when I moved in there, all that rent money went to a pool. And at one time, there's like $60,000 in this pool, and then your new director of financing, whatever, that guy found this money. So what's this all about? Why aren't we doing something with this money? Well, it's for the Gibbs Lake house in case something happens. Doesn't cost anybody nothing. It's his rent money and it's there to fix things. So it's good, you know. Well, we're not having that. We're gonna take that money away and do whatever the county does with their money. And if we need something, Mr. Trainer can just budget for it in the future. or just request the board that, hey, I need $5,000. Something, the roof went bad and, okay, just let us look here. Yeah, well, okay, we can give it to you, but it's gonna be 2 months before we get you the money, John, or whatever, you know. But, you know, so I kind of see that had been an issue, you know. So my issue is like, we're not ready to leave, but we're looking. We don't want to be forced out, so,
Understand.
you know, and 44 years of 1 year lease every January was pretty good for us. We thought that was all right. And I suppose if we did find a place, I would imagine that you guys would all say, look, you're gonna leave, we feel it's okay, there's no problems, you don't have to finish paying out your 9 months left on your lease or, yeah, and then so when we would wait till January, we had to.
I'll say I don't see an issue with that. On top of the fact, we could add something in the language of the contract as well, saying, hey, if whatever arises, we can terminate.
In a typical scenario, if somebody were to, if a tenant were to leave prior to the expiration of the lease, the landlord would have a remedy to say, you need to keep paying until the end of the lease or until we fill that space. I can say with a lot of confidence that county would not be seeking to do that.
No, because in my time on the committee, we have talked extensively about this, and the one thing, Dave, that we know, once you leave, everything goes away. Because we're not in the business of rental units, and,
But you guys do rent though, I mean.
well, right, we are, but our fear is the cost of a new septic system on a building we intend to tear down. That's the major issue, or any
I would
major.
say
expense, but-
it's more than just the septic, but I
Right.
mean, windows, siding, you know,
Right.
there's.
I mean, we lucked out, we didn't get hit by that tornado. We lucked out just a year ago, we didn't get hit by that hailstorm, everything was on the other side of the lake, I mean, you know, just knock on wood, thank the Lord, you know, got lucky there.
But that's the reason why we asked about the 30-day lease. I don't think there'd ever be a problem if we had a year lease and you decided to leave after 3 months. Because obviously that's the position we're at. We're not looking,
We're not seeking to have
yeah,
the money.
Yeah, okay.
no, we're not seeking to.
So we probably should just leave it the way it is and we're all,
Well-
you know. Sorry.
Can I just make a quick comment about the situation? I would say, is there a way we can't write in? If it stayed a year, is there a way we could write in that if something major happens where it requires a lot of money, like if something went with the septic, that would be no longer habitable and then it would be an exit? I get that would be short term and you wouldn't have much notice, but is that feasible?
I think it's possible. I would want to check a couple things, but I will say from a practical standpoint, it doesn't make it any different than a month to month. You know, only because if we have a year lease, I don't think there's much risk to the Wilkies, right? Because we're not gonna hold them to that. We, like everyone has said, once you guys are gone, that property, we're not re-renting it. The risk comes from the county perspective and exactly the situation that you've noted. If there is a big structural repair that's gonna require, you know, $6,000, $8,000, whatever, we essentially know that we're throwing good money after bad because we're gonna sink that money into a property only to then take it down.
Mhm.
And really just to do that, to make it livable, the conditions livable, is we're required to do until the end of that lease. So even if we were to write something in a lease that says if something major happens, you have 30 days to leave, it's the same exact thing if we did a month to month. So I don't know that there's any difference in that. And, you know, I'm not advocating for one position over the other. I think it's just the risk of the year. If we know that there are going to be some failures that we anticipate in the next year, is the county putting money into that home when we know it's going to just sit empty?
I think the biggest thing that comes in, I think this was answered actually last year, was the statutory requirement, right? We have a year lease with Mr. Winke.
Yeah.
If that fails statutorily, we're responsible to make sure it's habitable. Right?
Yeah.
So if something happens in a tree or something, wind picks up and Dave's lawnmower goes whipping through his roof, some crazy thing happens. We're statutorily required to make sure that that roof is fixed and to make sure that he is whole for a renter. So to write that into the contract, that if something major happens, you are forced to leave. I don't know if that statutorily will hold up.
So that's another piece of the statute is if you write terms into a contract, let's say the example of, Mr. Winke is required to pay part of the repairs. If that's challenged, it will absolutely be struck down. The statute says, there are these protections that are for tenants.
So.
Any thoughts?
So, in my thought is here, what's major, the word major, I know you said like septic is major. So it's a large tree branch comes down, takes the power lines down, breaks the power pole, pulls the wires off the home, is that major?
In my opinion, no. Major ticket
I
items
don't
would be
know.
your roof, would be your, major plumbing or electrical issues. If for some reason something goes haywire and, burns the wiring in the house, the next thing you know, we got a $25,000 repair because your electric got fried. A lightning strike to your electricity. I know from experience that cost me $27,000 to rewire my home. That's a major ticket expense. Statutorily, we have to do that. I don't know if the county wants to spend $27,000 to rewire that house. And I'm using $27,000 as a hypothetical, obviously. I just know from experience, that's what we went through. Same thing with the septic. A septic is not cheap. You start talking about, say you've got a boiler in the house. What happens if that boiler blows and floods the house? That's a major item. You start talking big dollars to repair not only the boiler, but now any water damage or any of that, I'm saying those are major ticket items. A tree falling like it did, was last year, and took out the high line. We've got a county electrician. He worked with the electric company. We got that. It wasn't an issue.
Okay, I just, the word major,
Major in my opinion is like any homeowner, right? Major ticket item.
And some of those would obviously, depending on the circumstances, be covered by insurance, which is a claim, right? But to repair a new roof because it's failing, it's not covered by insurance. To, repair a septic because again, it's failing. Those are just major repairs that have to happen. But if something happened in a storm and the roof came off, that's a claim on our insurance versus all of that.
Keep in mind, we've got a $15,000 deductible.
Right. Mm-hmm.
I can empathize with him. When I was renting, my husband and I, our place was sold and we had 30 days to find another home. It was hard, but we did it. That's my.
Thank you, Pat. I guess my thought on it is, even if something major did happen, Dave, I don't think that we would. Personally, I think we would try to help you out as far as placing you someplace else. Because obviously, if we were to have something major go, we would need to, because we're not gonna continue renting it, we would need to terminate it. That's the point where we're at. And we really aren't trying to force you out, but at the same time, we're trying to balance this. So I guess my question is, if we were regardless whether to go with a 30 or a year-long lease. If, let's just say septic fails and you can't, water, that's done.
But if it's just one broken plastic pipe, let's say that's broke, that's causing the issue. Couldn't just cut it in place, replace it and say, oh, well, here, you're good to go. I mean. sure
That's
some of
not
the
a full
bad-
septic repair though, Dave. That's a
What?
That's not a full septic repair.
Yeah,
That's fixing a pipe.
right. Well, that's still a fix.
And all of those fixes come with 4 digits. There's literally nothing you can do on that house that it's gonna have at least 4 digits, if not 5 or 6.
Yeah.
So we all know that, so.
Okay.
You know,
One thing I may throw out, we've been bouncing this around for. I've been in this position for going on 9 years now. And please don't, Dave, I've known you for 20+ years. Dave and Linda and I, we get along fine. We have a good working relationship. We get, this isn't anything here. I guess if it was me and up to my recommendation, obviously you saw my recommendation for the percent raise, $1,000 a month, that sort of aspect. To help ease this for the committee, if we approve the 1-year lease, we can still write in if we need to or not, the whole, if you guys decide to pull out or whatever, but we've been doing this every year. Approve this year's 1-year lease. We can write in some verbiage to say, Dave, if you find a place or not, whatever. Do we put an end date on this? Do we put an end date like, you know what? We'll do it for 27, we'll do it for 28 by the end of the year 2029. That gives you a few years to actually find a place. Do we put an end date stamp on this? So we don't keep coming back here every year saying the same thing. That way that way the committee knows we have a plan. I'm not trying to force you out, Dave. I just know what everything that house needs. It's a ticking time bomb in a lot of things. Do we put an end date on it? We will continue to rent on a year basis, given the fact if you find something, we'll put verbiage in there that you can, and we'll mutually part ways. And we'll do this to the end of 2029. Or 2028 or something like that, just to make sure that every year it's not the same discussion. 2030, I don't know, the longer you go, the longer the time on the bottom.
Go ahead.
So we saw the pictures a few weeks ago about the condition of the property and.
Yep.
I'd like to suggest that if we're gonna put a sunset clause in here or whatever you wanna call it. That we don't stretch it out more than through the end of 2027. That should give you time, fine. And that's a whole year and a half or a year and 4 months. And I empathize with you too, but to protect the taxpayers of the county, a lot can go wrong in a year and 4 months. Maybe everything will just sail right through and everything will be just fine, but maybe the septic's gonna blow up in the end of September. You don't know.
Could be 5 years from now, could be tomorrow.
Yes, exactly.
I had a thought, is
Go ahead.
there a hybrid option, sort of, where you can do the month to month? But for Dave's concern, that only gets enacted, like you only pull the trigger on that if you have one of those major things so it's month to month. Dave knows it's month to month, but it's not, to your point, we want you out, it's just, we're done. It's not that, it's if one of those major things comes up, then we enact that part of the clause. And only in that case.
I don't see why not. You know, I mean, there are
Like-
some terms that you can put into a lease that so long as both sides say, I am fully aware of this clause and I'm contracting this because we think that it's in everyone's best interest. Just like what Mr. Trainer was saying, like we can put a clause in there that says there's no penalty to the tenant if they terminate early. And so I imagine, and I will double check this, but I imagine that there's language that I could write in there to say, this is a month-to-month lease with the understanding between the parties that the county will not seek to terminate prior to, let's say, December of 2027, unless there is a major repair that has to happen greater than so much money, whatever language we want to write in there. And that's really holding us accountable, you know, or to that clause. Versus like the Winkies, right? There's no harm to the Winkies in that situation. So that's where I feel like it still protects consumers, because that's what a lot of these things are about, is consumer protection. And when it comes to tenants, but that's a clause that holds us to account, not the Winkies to account. So I feel pretty comfortable with that.
Oh, thank you.
Go ahead, Pat. Did you have?
I
some-
agree with that too. That sounds very reasonable to me.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So I think from what I'm understanding, and I don't want to overstep here in any way, like everyone is kind of saying there's an end to this and the lifespan of this home is coming to an end. And I think in the interest of justice and really to let everybody know when that is, it makes sense to put an end date up, right? Because that gives the Winkies notice to say, hey, this is what we need to do, rather than, well, maybe next year, maybe the year after, what about next year? And it also provides some certainty from the county's perspective. You know that you're gonna have this rent coming in, and you know that you also may have to plan for some disaster that might happen. I think if you don't go with Supervisor Sutter's recommendation of 2027, there might be some value in asking facilities or somebody to go out there and evaluate the lifespan of some of these. You know, like the furnace. What are we looking at? The septic, you're about to get an idea of what that is. And that might provide a greater basis for you to say, when should the sunset date of this lease be? If you're not gonna just say it'll be at the end of 2027.
We have a motion.
Well, let's see. I would move that we adopt the suggestion of the month to month with a sunset of the end of 2027. That was sounded like the most reasonable for everybody.
Just to clarify, is that including the rent to be $1,000 a month as with the it would be a 2.75% increase? Is
I
that
think that
is that included in the motion?
Maybe that should be a separate motion.
I don't know, probably should be the all one motion.
Okay, well then I guess I would move that we also do the rate increase as stated in the
You want option.
Option 2.
option 2 as stated in the agenda.
So to clarify, you want option 2, month to month, sunset of 2027.
Yes,
And is the month to month only for this big ticket item of a set amount of dollars type deal that Shauna was talking about?
We never actually set a dollar amount, but I think it would be under the discretion of myself and the board. We would have to cross that bridge, but I don't think. I'm not looking to kick you out, Dave.
I mean, well, it does sound like I will be gone by 1/28. I have to be gone. You won't see me there anymore, right?
That's the
So it's
motion.
like $1,000 next year and 1/28, you're not even here. That's the way I get it.
That's the motion that just was made. Yes.
Okay.
I guess what I'm getting at is the simple fact of, if you have that electric thing that you talked about, I'm not gonna come to the committee and be like, he needs to go. Correct?
That's what I'm afraid of, yeah, I don't want that.
You have my word, that's not going to happen.
Is there a second to the motion?
I'll second it.
Motion made by Sutter, seconded by Brown. That we do a month lease at $1,000 per month. With a sunset clause at the end of 2027.
12/31.
Yes. Is there any further discussion?
No.
Pat, did you have something else?
No, I don't. Thank you.
Okay. With that, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Hey,
Opposed, motion carries.
Thank you.
Well, thank you, Dave. I understand it. We really do.
It hurts, so I get it.
Okay. 6B, discussion possible action. Issue paper award of 2026 ultraviolet cured in place pipe UV CIPP lining contract. Wisconsin DOT.
Okay,
Dwayne?
that was a lot, right?
Yes.
Okay, so we had. Been working with the DOT. There are 5 culverts. On DOT highways and we have the routine maintenance agreement with the DOT. And under that. We would looked at a couple different options to repair these culverts. One was to dig them up. One was to, shut 11 and 59 down. 59 is easier to shut down than 11. 11's an oversized overweight load route. We looked at cost to do that versus cost to do it in phases, so do half the pipe replacement and then move traffic and do that. And then we looked at this lining option, which is something that the state has been doing in other areas. We've done some of them in the past. We brought it forward we bid this out because of the dollar amount. And we quoted it out, request for proposals. We had 2 vendors submit questions. We had put out an addendum to clarify some things that were inadvertently missed. And we had ended up receiving 1 proposal. The DOT had this estimated at about $175,000. It came in at $159,000. They're comfortable with this because it ends up, we get into the contract with the vendor, we provide the service, we pay the vendor, the DOT reimburses us full price. So it's basically a DOT contract. It's just we're administering it under the routine maintenance agreement, which is something we typically do. If we're doing, it doesn't tend to get to this volume of magnitude on the expense. But given our purchasing processes and regulations, that's why we brought it through this way. Are there any questions?
No.
Anything further I can touch on with it?
No.
What this allows us to do is basically not shut traffic down. We can do the lining from the side, from the ditch on both sides. They don't have to shut traffic down or impede anything. The material that they use, this ultraviolet cured in place pipe has a significantly long lifespan. They're projecting these a lot longer than the culvert pipes themselves, so.
Any discussion? Doug?
Not seeing the downside.
No, not really. Not on this one, I don't think.
Any other discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying,
You don't have a motion.
oh, sorry. I need a
Yep.
motion, please.
Well, I would move that we accept that program as Dewey just stated.
I'll second.
Motion by Sutter, seconded by Fleming. We move forward. Is there any other discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Sorry, I got ahead of myself. Parks report.
Another time. All right, so just kind of whip through some of the stuff here. Maintenance update. Obviously, we've been mowing, rental, doing a lot of trail work, given the fact we hadn't had a lot of rain. But it's amazing how within about 72 hours after we got the rain, everything's green again and growing. So we're back to mowing. We've been doing a lot of it. We've also had some storm damage. So with some of the recent storm events, we've had some big trees and stuff go down. Pelichak Tiffany Nature Trail was one of them. We had 3 trees down there, Lee Park, Heritage Park, we had a tree come down. So we've been running around chasing some of these items that have shown up. Staffing update, I believe I talked to last month about Lupe, Guadalupe Begovac, who was our, one of our highway tech / parks employees, moved over to highway. And our parks assistant position, Mr. Joe Sorgel, actually signed her spot. So he moved up into that spot. So we put out for hiring our parks assistant position. I believe it closed last Friday. I think. I want to say it's either last Friday or this Friday. Long and short, we'll see here in the next couple of weeks what we got for applicants, and I'll report back down the next month of what we had for applications. Next one's you. Parks Advisory Committee. So Mr. Dean, congratulations, you were the only person that applied for the Parks Advisory Committee. So that being said, it was supposed to go in front of staff committee, I believe, last night, and then it has to go in front of the county board on Thursday, if I correct, for approval of the appointment. So I'm assuming, given barring any major, catastrophe, welcome back. So
We had our booth located under the grandstands at the Rock County 4-H Fair. It was staffed with employees. Our parks crew members got to do 5-hour shifts, and they did a fabulous job interacting with the public and sharing their knowledge. At the booth, we promote the parks, events, and friends groups. And we did a winter theme. Oh, Amanda went through it. The theme this year for the fair was Christmas in July. We did a winter theme. I thought it turned out really cute. We got a lot of compliments on the booth.
Amy said next to her campfire always. And at 90 degrees. Admin, for us here in the admin offices and whatnot, we've been working on our budget. We submitted with aid of Mr. Jorgensen on August 6th.
Yeah, we're a day late.
We were a day late, but it's okay. We had communication before the due date, so. Part of that obviously is because we're short-staffed in our accounting world, so trying to get numbers and that have been a little bit more challenging than normal, so. But we worked through it, got it submitted. The other thing that we got submitted was a 25-26 snowmobile grant payment request. So we got all of our numbers and that together. So how the grant program works is the clubs do the work, they submit the bills to us, we approve the bills or deny the bills depending on what they are. We pay them what work they've done, but we're basically the holder of the grant. So that being said, we got to keep track of all the numbers that come in, not only our own, but also for the clubs. And we have to submit for reimbursement to the DNR. The 25-26 final submittal was due, and we got that all submitted. So thanks to Amy. She does an excellent job of tracking all that and doing all that for us. And then as well as the county conservation aids grant, we're up for an application again. Last year, if you remember, we got $7,500 to put towards trails at Carver Park. We've been working on that grant, and we are coming up for another grant cycle. So we'll be applying again before October 1st for that. So down at Beckman Mill, if you guys go down there, we've been doing a lot of boardwalk repairs. Under inspection, we had a lot of boards that were starting to show their age, starting to deteriorate. We've replaced around 100 boards on the boardwalk down That being said, our plan is potentially next year, do another evaluation. We might have to replace another 100 boards, but if we keep that up within 4 years, we'll have a brand new boardwalk. So. And then just to let everybody know, the Friends of Beckmanville actually hired an executive position. That position aided them in a lot of their tasks for rentals as well as promotions of the mill, stuff like that. That position actually has resigned. It lasted about 6 months. Ish. So, but I'm assuming they'll be looking and advertising for potential replacement at some point, so. And then the Lori Pennycook Memorial, this was something that was spurred by Miss Winke. She was going to purchase a plaque and a tree for her down there. The tree, as opposed to her purchasing one, we're actually moving some of the conservation areas down there. And we have some oak saplings that we can pull as opposed to buying one and repurpose.
Nice.
Okay. So we will be repurposing a sapling from the oak savanna down there. And then she, Mrs. Mooney offered to pay for the plaque to be able to put with the tree. So that'll hopefully be coming in the next month or so.
The Friends of Beckman Mill had their annual ice cream social and Artists in the Park. The mill was open and they were grinding corn. The Cooperage Museum and Gift Shop was also open. They had ice cream, cake, and root beer floats, and then they had artists stationed throughout the park where they were doing work or you could buy stuff. And they also had art activities for the kids and ice cream making. We had a booth there for kids to paint a magnet that was like a nature animal. They loved it, and they had some other kids' activities as well.
Carver Rail. So I made mention that we've been working on a lot of trail work in the Parks General. Carver Rail is one of the areas where we're doing a lot of trail work. We're doing some rerouting of trails where we've seen erosion and or mud, areas. We're going to change up some of the way the trails, obviously navigate through the woods just because of erosion. We got one area where the mower actually hangs off right next to the creek bank because the creek is scoured that close to the trail. We've got another area where it's constantly muddy, so we're gonna navigate around that. But we're also cutting in a trail to actually make access down to the roadway. Right now, if you get on the most easterly area of Carver Rail Park, once you start the hike, there's no outlet back to the parking lot. You have to basically go through the entire trail section before you get back. So we're actually gonna add a couple spurs that go in. So if people don't wanna walk the full mile loop, they only want to walk a quarter mile or a half mile, they can do that exit. So. Yep. Memorial bench. Oh, so the McNamee family donated a bench in honor of their son out at Carver Rail, and we're hoping to get that in yet this fall.
Then we moved our story walk to Carver Rail from July 9th through the 23rd, and you can see a family there enjoying the story walk that was placed around the playground.
Gibbs Lake Park, obviously we touched on this during the initial discussion earlier. I was hoping to have an answer about the plumbing issues. I'll know as soon as I get the visual from Roto-Rooter on what's blocking the pipe or what's going on. Dave obviously knew more about it than I did. I had no record of what kind of pipe was there. All I could envision is the ductile iron pipe, and it's broke someplace along the way, and that's a big ticket expense. So I wanted to have that information prior to today. Unfortunately, we have more information, just not the information of what's blocking it. So.
And we moved our busy tree story walk to Gibbs Lake. It's up through the 19th, and we received a message on Facebook. A family just happened to be there, and they really enjoyed that the story walk was up at the park.
Happy Hollow. Talked to you guys a little bit about this, about the parking lot damages. If you see the picture on the left and the picture on the right is from kids doing burnouts and squealing their tires and whatnot. I've actually got a video that I've been working with the sheriff's department that they supplied me. Just to kind of see what we're dealing with. On the night of this event, they were down there for about an hour and a half. There was over 30 vehicles and over 60 children or kids that we see coming in and out of the park. But if we speed it up here a little bit, you'll see what they were doing.
No.
Not a safe environment for 11 o'clock at night. So if this went on, like I said, for over an hour and a half.
Is that a camera that's permanently out there or?
No, we were working with the sheriff's department. This gentleman right here, you see the sparks? He actually went down to his rim.
Yeah, I see that. Were they using a drone then?
No, this is the camera from the sheriff's department. It's not a drone.
Oh,
So. Long and the short, this is the camera system that I've asked to help us in our parks for security purposes. That ties directly with the sheriff's department. Our trail cameras, on a night like this, we couldn't pick up anything. The LED lights from cars have been shining on our cameras and we're not able to get a good clear picture.
so here's a silly question, but did the sheriff do anything about this the night of?
We are working with the sheriff's department, not the night of. Nobody responded the night of.
But they were watching it all.
They went back after the fact. This is a recorded system.
So
Okay,
there's
no
no,
live feed.
there's no live feed from this camera to the sheriff's department.
I believe that there is a live feed to the sheriff's department. They just are not there watching it 24/7.
You have to have somebody behind.
I can explain this actually. So.
That's why she's.
So the sheriff's department has a couple cameras, in, let's just say the flat cameras, because we all kind of know that can move. And so what it is a camera will capture, and I'm not saying this is a flat, but I'm saying systems like that, they capture this imagery and it's uploaded, but it's not like they're watching it in real time. So they can go back if there's a request. So if Mr. Trainer says, hey, can you show me what the capture or what the, cameras captured on this date on that time? They can go make a request, pull that footage from essentially the cloud and then download it onto their system and watch it. But it's not it's live in the sense that it's capturing at the time it's happening, but it is not directly, fed into the sheriff's department watching it.
We have nobody in the room watching.
Watching it, correct. So that being said, working with the sheriff's department now to cite a couple people. I've got a damage request sent over to our construction team to do the asphalt repairs from these gentlemen or ladies, as it may be. But that being said, it's just blows my mind, especially with the cost of tires.
Right.
I was gonna say,
So,
my tires will last forever.
yeah. Like I said, the one car that actually sat there and dug a hole till he blew his tire and was sending sparks on the rim. If you watch the video long enough, he actually comes back, so he must have spares.
He went back and put another tire.
He
on it.
went, put a tire back on and he comes back out and he does stuff like this for another probably 10-15 minutes.
So we're looking for somebody with a tire changer.
I've got to be honest with you, I've got a tire changer in my garage, but you don't see me wanting to change tires, I can tell you that, it's kind of. So,
That's just crazy.
but, so,
The ADRC sponsors Wednesday walks, and we had one at the Pelmashak Tiffany Nature Trail led by Jim Hessenauer, our parks crew leader. He's always very popular. And you can see a picture on the left of the walk, and that was the first time we had the walk there. And currently we have the solar system trail walk up. Dean Painter created that, so thank you to him. It is up through August 11th. It's 14 yard signs representing the sun and planets, and they're placed to reflect the true scale of distance. So if you haven't had a chance, I recommend it. It's a half mile out and back, so a mile total. Thanks again to Dean for creating that.
Rock River Heritage Park, master plan, so. We actually received a draft, that staff is reviewing, as well as the Parks Advisory Crew and the Friends of Rock River Heritage Park. They are able to just kind of make sure everything's accurate before we submit to the committee and to others So that being said, we've got that draft plan that we're reviewing. I believe the time frame is October that we're planning on bringing it to the committee, so. And then basement cleanup status, we've been putting a lot of work into this because obviously not only did the friends request, but also we've had numerous requests with people having weddings and stuff like that out there that they would like to use the basement for whether it be staging for the wedding or whatever. We're pretty much done with it. We've got a couple little curtains to put up, stuff like that, some cleanup in the bathroom, but we're pretty much done with the basement for the time being. So, it's been an ongoing project. We've been using, the rain days and stuff like that, which we haven't had a lot of, but we're pretty much wrapped up with that project. So just wanted to let you guys know. Royce Dolman Park, you don't see this one very often, a memorial bench donation at Royce Dolman. The Bolden family wishes to put a bench out that overlooks Lake Koshkonong. We actually have been working with the family and we decided to keep that bench. They paid for it and everything. The bench is ordered, but we're not going to place the bench until next spring. With the hope that this winter we can clean out the shoreline similar to what we did at Gibbs Lake. If we could clean out a lot of the scrub brush and that blocks the view from the pavilion of Royce Dolman and then place the bench, it would be a lot easier to do the work prior to placing the bench first and then not trying to drop a tree on it. So we can look forward to that being placed in the spring. And then electrical work, we had some I wouldn't say issues, but we put some lights and stuff in the bathrooms and stuff like that, and they continue to get knocked down. So we got that completed, and then we also cleaned up a little bit of the electric while we were there. That goes to like the camera, or not the camera, the siren and stuff like that. Just kind of clean up that panel a little bit. Had some work to do up there. So Sweet Island Park well repair. Shopier Days. Shopier Days hires Bloyer Well to come in and remove our well pump and put a pump in for the actual event. After the event, our health department went down to take water samples and our well didn't work, our hand pump. Called Bloyer. They said they didn't touch it. Long and short, we had to pay for a well repair after Shopier Days. So I'm going to try and talk to the boys to make sure that things are, make sure everything's working after our events. And then shelter design update. I'm working with Combs right now to get a survey for the area. I've talked to Blake with Architecture, who's got the contract for design of the new shelter. So we're working right now that hopefully within the next couple of months here, we have that completed. So.
Every July, we have a photo contest. Next slide. July is National Parks and Rec Month. This year's theme was the power of parks and recreation. So throughout the month of July, we had a theme with the word the power of next. So our first one was the power of connection. And then we just had one of the pictures featured during that week was of people having a picnic, and that was at Beckman Mill. The next, from July 5th through 11th, it was the power of play. We had a picture of children enjoying the creek at Sweet Island Park. Then our next feature was the power of community, and we focused on the friends groups and volunteers. This is a picture of the Friends of Rock River Heritage Park. And then our next theme was the power of nature, and we featured a sunset at Gibbs Lake. And then our next one was the power of belonging, and it shows a group of kayakers by Turtle Creek Parkway by the 5 Arch Bridge. And then our last theme was the power of well-being. Just getting out in nature reminds us to slow down and be grateful for the beauty around us. And then also we Quick Trip donated 3 $20 gift cards. So we just randomly draw 3 prize winners and send them out to them. And then the Rock Trail Coalition had their annual the Peace Ride. This was their biggest event ever. They had 144 riders and they made almost $6,000. And this is all run by volunteers. They do an amazing job. And then our upcoming events. John,
I'll talk about the United Way Day of Caring. For the last probably 3 or 4 years, we have worked with the United Way and offered projects for the people that volunteer for the Day of Caring. The last couple of years, we've had them out at Beckman Mill and Heritage to do different projects. This year, we have actually applied for 2 projects. One to be at Heritage Park for a picnic table rehab project. We've got over 16 tables right now, and we're adding to it that need to be rehabbed. So sanding, staining, reassembly, all that stuff. On top of the fact, we've also applied for Roy Stallman. So maybe we can have some help cleaning out that fence line up there, not fence line, but the shoreline. Get that project underway, so.
And then other upcoming events, September 13th is the Friends of Beckman Mill Heritage Sunday. October 3rd is Rock River Heritage Park Friends Fall into Fall event, and they also have a 5K scheduled that day. The Friends of Carver Round have their Fall Fest. The next day, October 4th, we will have a booth at our Rock County Employee Benefits Fair on October 6th. We'll also be at the ABC Supply Health Fair. And then our last Wednesday walk is scheduled for Magnolia Bluff on October 14th. That's all we have for you. Have any questions?
I just got one question going back to Beckman Mill and Lori Memorial. You said Mary Mooney is gonna fund the plaque.
Yep.
Do you know if she had any contact with the family or anything, or?
That I
Okay.
don't know.
Do you got a estimate on when she was hoping to have that done?
For the actual,
Plaque?
the plaque and
what that's
everything.
gonna be?
So we ordered the plaque and Mary was paying for it.
Okay, you ordered. it.
We've ordered the plaque already,
Okay,
so.
cause I was considering doing something down there myself to make sure she had a memorial down there, cause I know she spent a lot of time at Beckman Mill.
Yeah.
That's why the reason for my
Yep.
questions. and
No worries.
everything. I'll be seeing both Brad and Lizzie this weekend.
Okay.
So.
So we worked with Mary and Mary asked us to order the plaque.
Yeah. okay.
So we ordered the plaque and Amy might remember the verbiage right off the top of her head, but I don't.
How's the plaque gonna be mounted? Is it gonna be on her?
We're actually gonna put it in a small concrete slab next to the tree,
Yeah, okay. Okay.
so.
Is that in such a position or such a way that a bench would be nice there, or?
Potentially. Obviously, it's hard to say how close you put the bench.
Well,
I-
no, I understand that. I just
But no, it's,
didn't know where the intentions of placement were or anything.
so that I'd have to talk to Jim Hessnauer. He's our parks crew leader.
Okay,
So he usually does the placement on a lot of that stuff. But I could talk to him and get back to you.
okay. All right. Well, that would be something I would ask because I might be willing to help out with something.
Yeah, I can talk to Jim to see if it's in a location where a bench would be feasible.
Yeah.
So I know we have slowed down, not saying Lori would be one of the people we've slowed down for.
Yeah, yeah.
But we have slowed down with memorial benches down there because we've got so many of them.
Yeah, okay.
And there's a lot of people that have had a lot of vested time and energy down there in the mill, Lori being one of them.
Yep,
So I'm
yep.
not against, what I'm saying. But it's the simple fact of we get random ones, like my mom really enjoyed that park, I'd like to put a bench there.
Yep.
Unfortunately, we've got a lot of people that have vested volunteers down there that we're kind of saving spots for.
Yep, yep.
But like I said, Lori does not qualify, was a volunteer down there, she was vested down there, so
Yeah.
Any other questions for Parks Report?
So the Howard Tiffany Nature Trail Solar System Trail Walk ends today.
It ends at the end of this week.
Oh, whenever.
I would say after Dean's not gonna go take it down with the rain.
It was installed to be there for 2 weeks
Oh, okay.
and. Can't get it going.
It's gonna rain today, Dean, you don't wanna go down there anyways.
He was extending it just for you.
Well, we'll pass that on to my granddaughter. Daughter.
No.
Okay. If there's nothing else, next meeting.